Here at the StartLife Demo Day. I'm very happy to see so many people in person again. And I have to say that today you're going to have two amazing hosts. And the main reason why I'm saying this is because I'm with my colleague Jean Boudillon, who is a program manager at StartLife. And fun fact about Jean is that he actually joined us only 4 months ago, but since the beginning, he took the courage to jump into this program and take a lead in it. But I'm sure Jean can tell you a bit more about it.
Yes, thank you, Julia. We are very happy to welcome you today. It's very nice to see you. It's a pleasure to be here. Before we get started, I want to say a few words to Lutz Rammersberg, Program Director at StartLife. He's been here since day one to help me. Same with the StartLife team. It's very nice to have you. And of course, let me introduce you Julia Krastola, my co-host tonight and colleague. You're the Investor Relations Manager. And yeah, welcome.
Thank you, Jean, that's right. Okay, I want to discuss with you now more or less what's going to happen today, because we're going to have 12 startups pitching on this stage right in front of you, all their amazing solutions in the agri-food tech world. But before jumping into it, I would like to give the floor to the Managing Director at StartLife, Jan Meling, because I'm sure he's going to tell you a bit more what we do and why we do it. So, welcome, Jan.
Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. It has been 6 months ago that we were sitting here, or actually over there. We had to move the Christmas tree aside, but I think it works out like this. Okay. Yes, we do live in a world of turmoil. Yes, the Earth is still getting warmer, but there's a lot of good news. So I know that journalists already validated that bad news is actually more appreciated by people. I still wanted to give you some good news. And the good news is that although investors are sitting on a lot of dry powder, and although corporates are reevaluating their investments and innovation strategies, there is absolutely no hesitation with the startup founders. There's more energy than ever, there's more substance, there are more and better startups going around, and that's really amazing. And that's because I think startups thrive on challenges, right? Startups love problems. Startups are based on needs, and there are more and plenty needs than ever before. So that might explain why we see an enormous amount of energy amongst founders to make this contribution. So let me show you 2 slides. And we all like hockey sticks, right? Every decent startup has a hockey stick, right? So we have our own. Where is it? This is what our alumni do, right? And we already invest in startups for a couple of years, and it takes a while, you know, to get things going. But I think we're getting there. Many of the startups that we supported years ago are really getting traction. So this is our hockey stick. So we're very proud of that. And I think this is not a happy end, but this is really a happy beginning. Then another slide. We have been gathering some data, which is hard to find. I'm not a professional, but we gathered some data on the amount of R&D money which is spent by corporates in food tech in Europe, which is the blue line. And I already showed this graph to some people this morning. And the red line is the amount of venture capital going into food tech startups in the same geography. And yes, I know these are not the same entities, but I think this is a clear demonstration that innovation nowadays is organized in a slightly different way than 10 years ago, right? So startups are becoming significantly important for innovation. Okay, that's nice. So startups are far beyond the hype. Startups are really getting important for innovation. But that also puts a pressure on us, right? That also creates more responsibility for what we do. And in the world of today, I think we have more than enough challenges, more than enough technology, more than enough capital. And the true bottleneck for innovation, the true driver for innovation is ambition. And that's the reason why StartLife decided to build a second company, which is a venture studio, which will not only be supporting startups, but we're also going to build startups. And this is all about taking responsibility. And this is where we also invite you to join us and create even more pieces of the puzzle that we so dearly need. So before we move on, I want to expose you to the StartLife team once more. You've seen two, and you will see some more. But this is very much a collaborative effort. This is the team, and these people are working relentlessly hard and with a lot of passion every day on what you have seen and accomplished here today. So why not give them a big round of applause? And it's impossible to thank all 16 people, but I want to highlight two people. First of all, Bram, who has been working his pants off to get our new website ready this morning. So check it out. It has a new look and feel, but even more important, it has more functionality. So we now have a job portal connected to it, and we have a member area where founders can connect to coaches and mentors. Because we did not manage anymore to do this all by ourselves, by hand, so we created this portal where people can more easily find each other. So new look and feel, more functionalities, do check it out. It's online since this morning. There's a second team member that I'd like to propose to you, which is not on the slide yet because she started only 2 days ago, which is Annelies, and I especially like to show it to you because Annelies will be responsible for corporate relations and innovation. So I'd like to give Annelies a minute to introduce herself, and then we'll move on with the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jan. Yeah, I don't need it. Hi, everyone. I'm Annelies Schenk, and I'm very thrilled to be here. As Jan said, it's my first week. I think I hit the jackpot. I mean, being here, having a great morning session, and this demo day. So I hope to meet all of you. I met a lot of the partners already, but I hope to have the chance to talk to you this afternoon during the drinks. And I hope, of course, to work with new and existing partners on collaborative initiatives to make a sustainable impact together. I think that's what we all here for. So thank you, team. I already like the enthusiasm that is here, the energy. I think I still need to make a crazy picture somehow to be there, in there, but that will happen. Thank you all and enjoy. And I want to give the floor back to Jean.
Yes. Thank you. Well, thank you, Jan, and warm welcome to you, Annelies. Super happy to have you in the team, and we need you in the team. We keep growing, so that's very important to have you. As Julia said, it's my first demo day. I'm super happy to join the community and look around. We have more than 100 persons in the audience live, and I think we have about the same number online, so very happy for those online. Please introduce yourself on the chat. You can ask your question. Our friend Samuel is here to monitor your question, and he will give the question to us. Today, you will have food tech and ag tech startup sharing their mission with you today and trying to connect with you. So that's very nice to have you. Of course, none of this would really happen without the funding partners, and the funding partners are the Wageningen University and Research, the Food Valley, PostNL, and of course the province of Gelderland. So a big thank you to those funding partners. Without them, it would never happen. StartLife wouldn't exist. So big thank you. Thanks to them. The community keeps growing. We have three new partners to welcome today. We have corporate partner Kraft Heinz, food giant Kraft Heinz. We also have a new investor partners, Horticoup. I saw Wilco from Horticoup today. And we have a new program partner as well, Nomic Today, which is a recruiting agency in food and agriculture. I won't go over all the challenges we are facing today. You know them all. What's really important for us is that you are here today to help us transition to a more sustainable food system. So big thank you to you. If there is any way, just keep thinking how you can help the startup that are going to pitch today, if it's through an investment or just a connection. That's the most important for us today. Julia, you will tell us more about the setup today.
Yes, thank you, Jean. So, as we were already saying at the beginning, we have 12 startups that are going to pitch on this stage, and we have a very tight schedule. So that means each startup will have 2 minutes to present their solution, and this will be followed by 2 minutes of Q&A. So please prepare yourself, both online and in-person audience, to prepare your questions. For the in-person audience, just raise your questions, like raise your hand, and we will address it from the studio. And from the line audience, you have a right below chat box in the corner, and Samuel will take care of all the questions and will raise them, as also Jean was saying, to the startups. Okay, I think we already gave all the preliminary information, so we can start to get to know them.
Yes, we are ready. Do you hear me? Yeah? Okay, okay. We are ready. Let's welcome on stage Umami Meats, cultivating fish shells to preserve endangered fish species. And let's welcome on stage Mihir Pershad, CEO and co-founder.
All right, Mihir, you come straight from Singapore, and I believe you were in the US a few weeks ago and you won the
Thrive Global Impact Challenge, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, please tell us everything about Umami Meats.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Mihir Prashad. I'm the founder and CEO of Umami Meats. And I want to tell you about seafood. I think it's something near and dear to many of your hearts. I know the seafood culture in the Netherlands is quite big. But actually getting seafood onto our plates is getting more and more difficult because we can only farm a handful of species. And the majority of species that are most desired are ones we can't farm. And that's where Umami Meats focuses. We are using cell cultivation to replace production of species that are endangered, can't be farmed, and that are facing growing demand. We're starting with species like eel, big-eye tuna, and red snapper, and there's a $60 billion market for us to target with just these 3 species. We start by harvesting cells, proliferating them using a proprietary method in bioreactors, and using machine learning to optimize this process. We then differentiate into muscle and fat, and then produce hybrid cultivated and 100% cultivated products using these cells through partnerships with large food corporates. And our vision is to build the Intel Inside, the platform layer that powers local tastes. We have partnerships in Japan with one of the largest food companies in the world to develop grilled eel. We have a partnership in Malaysia working on seafood for the Southeast Asian cuisine, and a recent partner with Ingredion based in the United States. And we have our first customer paying us for product development and go-to-market. The team that's helping to lead this is tremendous experience in commercialization of food, as well as in the science that drives our technology. We have 30 years of experience commercializing food through partnerships in Asia, 30 years of experience in stem cell biology, 20 years of fish stem cell biology, and 15 years commercializing and scaling up bioprocesses. If you're interested in helping us make the future cultivated, not caught, please reach out. We're currently raising our seed round and would love to tell you more about that, and are also looking for partners to help us develop the next applications that we'll bring to market. Thanks very much for your time and look forward to your questions.
All right, thank you, Mihir, for your clear presentation. I'm sure we have questions, so please, who's going to be the first one? Online audience, do we have any question? No question. Oh, yes, we have.
What stage are you in? Can you What stage are you in right now?
Sure. So we are currently in the early scale-up stage. We're building what we call a tech demonstrator, which will take us up to 200-liter production, and then plan to start building our pilot next year.
Any other question? Yes, on the back.
Hi guys, I'm Tyson from Monkeys by the Sea. We're a plant-based seafood producer. Not as high-tech as you, but great what you're doing, and I love your name. My question is, how are you going to get texture in your products?
So this is why we're starting with hybrid products, because we think plant-based ingredients today are the key to helping create the right textures. In the long term, we have a number of active research projects to develop textures for things like sashimi, and separately to develop textures for grilled or fried or other kinds of applications. But right now that's coming from plant-based ingredients.
All right, I see we have a question from the online audience.
We have a question. Are you already discussing market access with SFA?
Yes, so we've received 2 approvals for tastings in Singapore from the Singapore Food Agency, which is SFA. We've started discussions in the US. You may have heard US FDA gave their first product approval about 2.5 weeks ago to a cultivated chicken company. So our goal is to submit to the regulators next year and to streamline access to market in Singapore, US, and eventually Europe, if we can bring EFSA to the party to start working on regulatory approvals.
All right, another question there.
Hi. There are many tissue engineering companies out there. Most of them are focusing on meat. How difficult it is for them to change their focus from meat to fish?
I'll say if you look at the number of people who've ever done a PhD working on fish cell biology, you could probably fit them all into one of these side rooms here. So it's a much smaller field. It's a much less well understood field. And I think you have to kind of almost start from scratch going into seafood compared to mammals because they're much further from human biology. So you need more depth of experience in this field. I think that's true the other way too. I don't think you could take fish processes and immediately transfer them to mammals.
All right, thank you so much. We are out of time, but we have time afterwards for all the questions and networks. So thank you, Mihir, for being here with us. Remember to scan the QR code that you have either on the booklet or on the screen, and also for the online audience, we have it shared in the chat to connect with the startup and get access also to their deck. I believe we can go for the second one now.
Yes, thank you, Mihir. That was very nice. Next startup is Albofirm coming from UK, and let's welcome on stage Sian Fussell, CTO of Albofirm. Obviously, it was not you on the video. That was your co-founder and CEO, Molly Allington, who is probably online, I imagine. And Albofirm, you're producing a coating for greenhouses that can change with temperature. Yes. Please, Sian, tell us everything.
Thank you. So hi, everyone. My name is Sian, and I am the CTO and co-founder of Albofirm. And at Albofirm, we're creating novel coating technologies to revolutionize the cooling industry and make air conditioning a thing of the past. So, as everyone is very aware, global temperatures are rising and becoming really unpredictable. And energy use for cooling is actually set to overtake heating by 2040, with 13% of the world's energy set to be used on air conditioning very soon. So we really need adaptive, clean, retrofittable technologies to limit these effects and reduce the effect on climate change. So at Albofirm, what we're doing is we're making temperature-responsive coatings that transition from transparent to white as they heat up. This will passively regulate temperature by reflecting excess solar gain in the hot temperatures, but letting in all the light in the cooler temperatures. So our coatings are retrofittable, they require no energy, and they also have a very tunable temperature transition to be between anywhere from 0 to 45 degrees. And this, we believe, makes it very suitable for a wide range of industries. So our beachhead market is commercial greenhouses because we believe we have a real benefit to growers with our solution. The current technology people use is shade paints, which are applied in the springtime and removed in the autumn. We can save growers time and money by not having to apply these coatings annually. They can be left up multiple seasons because they're passive when they're cold, and you have all these extra benefits of the additional light you get, which can correlate to yield increases. So we've just finished our first small-scale pilot where we trialed against these shade paints, and we saw a 34% increase in yield compared to the leading shade paint that is out there at the moment. So we believe there's a real benefit to using our solutions. So we've just we raised our pre-seed funding about 18 months ago, and we're now raising our seed round, where we're looking for £650,000 to scale up our technology. And we're also looking for trialing partners who'd be interested in using our technology to trial in the next few years. So thank you for listening, and any questions?
Thank you, Sean. Thank you so much. Okay, do we have, yes, we have questions from the audience already.
Oh, there. So you have tunable temperature triggers you mentioned, which is quite a nice word, I must say. But how exact is that tunable trigger? Is it on the specific temperature or a range?
So you could have either. So the coatings at the moment, we're building to have a gradual temperature transition, which we think will be really beneficial for the greenhouse industry, where you could have a temperature where your coatings start to get shading, and then say at the top end where you have a heat wave extreme temperatures, you could max out the transparency of your coatings. So it's very flexible. We can create a range, or if you were interested in having a very fine trigger, that is also possible.
Thank you.
Any other question? Yes.
So we still need to scale up our manufacturing capability. So at the moment we're working with a couple of kilos of coating. So we want to move on to sort of hundreds of kilos of coating and trial on a large scale greenhouse, because it's quite a different environment to the scale of greenhouse we've piloted on at the moment. So yeah, it's mainly scale up, optimization to tune it to those larger greenhouses. But we're imagining we'll be ready for that in sort of 12 months' time.
So technology-wise, you're more or less done?
There's still some fine-tuning where we want to make sure the specifications are ready for commercial greenhouses, so getting that temperature variation correct, getting the right level of shading that you have the maximum light for the crops while still providing protection. So there is a bit more R&D development to go, but we're quite close to a commercially viable product.
We have time for another quick question. I seen, yeah, there was a...
Thank you for a nice presentation. Can you elaborate a little bit on how durable your coating is and whether or not it affects the recyclability of the glass?
So our coatings at the moment have, we need to improve the durability because we want them to last as long as possible to minimize the environmental impacts of having to wash off a coating. So at the moment they only last about 1 season, but we're hoping to expand that to multiple seasons. And then in terms of the glass recyclability, they're 100% removable. So we built them to have a removal solution that you spray onto the coatings that will dissolve the coatings, and then they can be washed off. So it won't affect the recyclability of the glass.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sean, for being here with us.
All right, let's move on to soil biodiversity, and to speak about it, welcome the next startup, Veridi Technologies. Veridi can detect soil nematodes and many other things. But please welcome on stage Ziad Mata, CEO of Veridi Technologies. So Ziad, you are one of my French-speaking friends in the program. Always a relief for me to speak a bit more French. So please tell us everything about Veridi.
Sure. Thank you, Jean, for the introduction. So hello, everyone. My name is Ziad. I'm the CEO of Veridi Technologies. So we're a Dutch company specialized in commercializing a reliable way of monitoring soil biodiversity on an industrial scale. Oh. So when it comes to soil microbiology, it's really at the center of our food system, since 95% of our food depends on it, and 25% of biodiversity on Earth is in it. It also affects our health a lot, but when it comes to monitoring it, it's really, really difficult. And that is quite a shame, since the market for soil biodiversity testing is of $10 billion. It can also bring farmers considerable value in the form of insights to better manage their farms, but also in the form of payments, in the form of lower interest rates for their loans, but also biodiversity credits. So what we do at Veridi Technologies is that instead of having someone count thousands of worms all day, all week long, which quite frankly is not very fun to do, we automate the whole process through automated microscopy and artificial intelligence. So that has a lot of advantages. It's faster, it's more scalable, it's also 20% more accurate, and most importantly, we can cut the cost by 2. So we're looking forward to roll out this game-changing innovation, and so we're always looking for partners. So if you're interested or would like to learn more about it, please contact us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ziad. Okay, let's open the floor for questions. Any question from the audience? Yes.
Thank you. What's your target group? What kind of companies or organizations will be your customers? Is it government or firms or?
Yeah, so we're first starting with laboratories, right? Because they will be the one also supplying the service. But we're also seeing interest from a lot of different kinds of companies, all kinds of companies that grow. So it can be cooperatives, for example, seed companies, even supermarket companies as well. So all of them are concerned by soil biodiversity, soil degradation, and all of them also want their farmers to benefit from the possible rewards of using these kind of tests.
All right, thank you. Another question in the front.
I just had a quick question on what parameters are you measuring within the soil sample? What specific things are you looking for?
Yeah, so we look at nematodes, which are microscopic worms, and they're interesting because they've been used as an indicator since the 1970s, and there's a really robust framework to use them as a biodiversity indicator since the 90s as well, and they're recognized by the Dutch government as the best indicator for soil biodiversity.
Right. We have a question from the online audience.
We have a question from the online audience. Are you producing software or hardware solution?
So it comes in a mix of both. There is an automated microscope component, which we get something that's off the shelf. We'll also adjust it. And then our software is proprietary.
We have time for another question. Yes.
Yeah, so there's a lot of interest for carbon emission reduction and carbon credits, and we think that we can use the same infrastructure of carbon credits for biodiversity credits. So that's something also that we are looking into, and actually we're seeing quite a lot of interest in that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for your questions, and thank you so much for your answers.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you, Ziad. Our next startup comes from Greece, Solmeia, producing bio-ingredients using cultivating microalgae. Please welcome Vasilis Stenos, co-founder and CEO of Solmeia. Vasilis, you can store CO2 29 times faster than nature, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
yes.
Tell us about it.
Well, thank you. So, hi everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Vasilis, obviously, and I'm happy to jump directly into the concept. Our biotech scale-up, converting CO2 into biomass 29 times faster than Mother Nature. So, why do we do so? Because we try to deal with humanity's two major problems. On the one hand, you have the lack of food or qualitative food. On the other hand, you have the climate crisis because of CO2. So we try to bundle those two together. How? Through microalgae. So technically, we grow our microalgae through our hybrid vertical process, both autotrophically as well as through fermentation. So what makes us different is the way of how we, through our IIP protected concept, we convert CO2 through an off-gas fermentation into a glucose substitute, and this glucose substitute is what we use as a catalyst to further boost our microalgae process, both autotrophically as well as through fermentation. So what do we produce? Of course, we produce the whole biomass, the white biomass, the yellow biomass, as well as the fractionated biomass. So all those food ingredients can be applied in different plant-based food applications, ranging from meat, fish, eggs, snacks, etc. So far, we are fortunate to have been awarded a 2 million project from the EIT Food, and along with Wageningen University, as well as 3 exploitation partners from France, Spain, Sweden, as well as Greece, we end up collaborating so as to produce plant-based and food products, fish, meat, eggs, snacks, and steaks. So I'm the environmental engineer focusing mainly on the CO2 part of Solmeia. And I'm very fortunate to have my team composed of scientists and engineers coming from France, the Netherlands, China, India, America, Brazil, and Greece. So as of why we're here, because we're trying to find an industry-related VC so we can close our round of fundraising for our scale-up scenario. We have Wageningen, we have EIT Food, we have exploitation partners contracted to work and buy our stuff. We're producing 5 tons of biomass per year. We're in the biggest national research center of the country in Greece, and we just need the industry-related VC to guarantee the process of this concept. So thank you all very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Vasilis, for your presentation. Okay, let's hear some questions from the audience. Any question? Maybe I can start if you like. I know that you have many possible ingredients that you can indeed obtain through your process. Are you focusing on one specifically, or will you start from all of them?
Lovely question, and thank you for the opportunity. Truth is that based on the different interests from plant-based fish manufacturers all the way to plant-based, let's say, pasta, we need to develop the enriched oils with omega-3s and carotenoids that the industry wants to color coat more or less their fish, moreover for the meat and the eggs and the snacks. So depending on what the need are, we have to fractionate the biomass, isolate, purify the content in a sustainable way, not using conventional solvents. And that's the next innovation we're working on with Wageningen, all of a coincidence. So yes, we focus on the whole biomass for different purposes, fermented biomass for other purposes. For instance, we have Danone France headquarters with an NDA with Solmega to develop those end products that have to be dairy substitutes. And that's why. Right, thanks.
Question from the audience. Yes, there.
Wait, it's a straight line, right?
Okay, thank you for the presentation. A question about the technique, the method that are using to grow this microalgae. Maybe you can talk a little bit about it. You mentioned fermentation, you mentioned heterotrophic.
We grow microalgae in any possible way aside from regular ponds. And we use our converted CO2 through this off-gas fermentation into this glucose substitute. And that's how we use this as a booster to further grow, incentivize the growing phase of our microalgae, both in the glass tubular systems to avoid microplastics, as well as in the fermentation. So we have our proprietary microalgae strains for the fermentation process that are white, so no chlorophyll expression. And we, of course, have the colorful, let's call it, strains for the glass tubular systems, for different applications, full of colorants, pigments, omega-3s, carotenoids, antioxidants, obviously.
And this moves in one process, or you have to, for example, extract from your reactors
first? It's one process. It's in one process. Separate the autotrophy, separate fermentation. Both coming from the same thing, the CO2 conversion. So then it splits into two.
Yeah, got it.
Thank you.
Any other question? One from the online audience.
The question is, how energy intensive is the process to grow the biomass?
Lovely question. It is, we need to be carbon negative. So based on my background and the life cycle analysis that so far we do on our pre-industrial scale facility of producing 5 tons of biomass per year and sequestering 10 tons of CO2 per year, it is at the lowest possible, the lowest possible level, because we just need pumps for the water circulation. We reuse the water, 90% of the water, full of nutrients for the next growing round. And this is it pretty much. Yes, we are based in Greece. We end up, with all due respect, coincidentally, of course, because of the sunlight, to grow our microalgae autotrophically in 8 days, whereas the same equipment in the Netherlands, our suppliers, end up growing the same algae in 14 days, just because of the better sunlight and no use of LED.
All right. Thank you so much, Vasilis.
Same here.
Yes, okay.
Do you hear me? Yes, okay. Let's speak about biostimulants and biopesticides. And our next startup is Biomosa. And let's welcome on stage Alex Schmetz, CEO and co-founder of Biomosa. Yeah. So again, that was not Alex, but your co-founder and CTO. Alex, you produce a biofungicide using a spatial microbe.
Yes.
Let's hear about it.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Alex Mees. Company name is Biomosa. And you just saw my co-founder, indeed, Guske. Another team members here, also Christian, who are our senior researcher. What are the problems for growers these days? They need to produce more food because the world population is growing from 3.5 billion in 1974 to more than 8 billion today. What they also need to do is to protect their crops. Without any crop protection, 40% of the crops would be lost. And it's very difficult to do that for the farmers because the chemical pesticides are no longer allowed. A lot of chemical pesticides are being taken out of the market because of environmental problems and human health problems. There are biological alternatives available, but biological alternatives, biologicals, do not have the efficacy, and also they're not stable and consistent in their performance. Here come we in with Canto, which is a novel biological active ingredient with high efficacy, over 80%, so which is on par with chemical pesticides, have a stable performance. It's due to the nature of the product. I will come back to that later. And we have a wide applicability against a wide number of fungi, like botrytis, powdery mildew, and also pythium. Why is our product unique? We use a novel bacterial strain, and we have developed a fermentation process where the product is not the bacterium itself, but what the bacterium is producing, the compounds, the so-called metabolites. So what we do, we use actually bacteria as tiny manufacturing units to produce our product, which causes stability and also high efficacy. We are doing a next round at the beginning of 24, for which we are raising money. So if you are interested, you're more than welcome. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Alex. Let's see if we have any question from the audience already.
If you have a question, please stand up, then I can throw it better. Just
Hi, thank you. I'm just wondering, can you use your product as one component of the total IPM system together with other biological solutions like predatory mice or other natural enemies together? Or it is used as one solution?
No, it's an ingredient. So other products end product will be formulated based on the ingredient, and probably it will be compatible also with other ingredients. So it's an add-on to existing products.
Thank you, that's clear.
Any other question?
There is a question.
Okay.
The question is your novel strain a GM one or a
yes,
non-GM?
Wild type strain. So no GMO.
I have a question as well. Thanks for the presentation. How do you compare to other nature-based crop protection?
Yeah, as I said, so normally you have biologicals, which are microorganisms, and they perform inconsistently. So their performance is depending on light, on temperature, humidity, etc. And we fix our product in the fermenter. So our product is more stable and has a higher efficacy. So that's the comparison we like to emphasize here. Yeah.
Any other question? We still have some time. Yes, we have many. I think the one was first, yes.
Thanks for the presentation. Do you need the same concentration as the chemical alternative? Or so what is the price point in the end?
Yeah, price is being counted per hectare normally. So for hectares, you need liters per hectare and then price per liter. So then you get the price per hectare. So we have a very low-cost production technology. So we think, yeah, we are convinced that we can have very low price per hectare compared to, let's say, the other biologicals, but also compared to the chemical alternatives now available. Yeah.
All right. We had another question here in the front.
Here you go.
More or less, Alex, was more or less already answered by the previous. So the productivity of the strain is high enough for commercial production already, or do you have to increase productivity?
We have shown efficacy with certain concentrations, but the coming months, the coming year, we will be doing more trials, a lot of trials, also to get to the exact dose rates and best way for application of the product.
Okay, last question.
Are there any physical boundaries to apply the product? Like, can it get too hot, like from the weather?
Stability testing, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, we did some stability testing, but that was more over time. So we need to do some additional stability testing on temperature and that type of stuff. But normally it's a product produced in a fermenter, and yeah, we think it's rather stable. We know already for some time. At least for the time it is stable, but the temperature and pH we also must test. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you.
Our next startup is in the field of robotics, Trabotics, please welcome on stage Tim Kruknik, the CEO of Trabotics. Tim, you're using robotics to allow efficient weed control for organic farmers.
True.
Right? Yeah, please tell us about it.
Hi everyone, my name is Tim Kruknik, co-founder of Trabotics, and let me introduce you to the dark side of organic agriculture. Because you have to realize, for all the organic vegetables that you're eating on your plate tonight, weeds close to the plant have been taken out by human hands. It's a shitty job, and nobody wants to do it. Furthermore, it costs the farmer up to 2,500 euros per hectare, and it's about 40% of the operational cost. So how do we do it? Trabotics uses mechatronics and computer vision to identify and take out individual weeds. Mechanics is not the difficult part. The magic is in understanding where and when to hit every individual weed. Fundamentally, that's a computer vision problem, and we're mastering it. We offer this to farmers in a pay-per-hectare structure at the same price as human labor. However, we are more precise and take out 1 million weeds per hectare. Conventional agriculture is killing our planet, but only less than 5% in the Netherlands, 10% in the EU is grown chemically free and organic. The EU wants to get to 25% by 2030. We're talking about 500,000 hectares. Let's face it, without weeding automation, that simply won't happen. At the moment, it's a wide open market segment. There are about 30 startups trying to gain ground. Ultimately, we see this market consolidating to 5 players taking 80% of the market. We want to be one of those 5 players. We went from prototype to idea in 2 years, with all core technology being our own IP. Wageningen Research validated our system, and we have best-in-class weed detection and already take out more weeds than humans do. Next season, we're going to bring our solution to market with 10 farmer customers, and they're going to pay us 1,000 euros per hectare for every hectare we weed. But wait, isn't farming a seasonal business? It's true, and we're going to use it to our advantage, because from 2024, we're going to start weeding in Spain, February and March, France, April and May, Netherlands, June and July, tripling our utilization and boosting gross margins to 75%. Where I think we could really use some help is introductions to organic seed production companies, because we see them as an ideal partner to educate farmers and to solve this sort of problem together. Thank you for your time, and happy to take any question.
Thank you very much, Tim. Okay, let's open the floor to questions.
So what's your exact business model? Will you sell the equipment? Will you sell the service? What's the model?
Yeah, so in the beginning, good question. We're going to sell it as a service, pay per hectare, 1,000 euros. Ultimately, I think when we do more crops and also the autonomy increases, then farmers like to own equipment. But farmers like to, let's say, make stuff by themselves, but these robots you cannot make with a hammer and a screwdriver. So in the beginning, as technology matures, we have to offer this as a service.
A question in the back.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. Can you say something a little bit more about the robot that you are using? How difficult it is to make? Can you make 100 and deploy them? How does it work? And the battery maybe?
Yeah, so basically there are 2 products, right? There's the autonomous platform that drives over the field, and there's the weeding system. And I think the magic and our core IP is in the weeding system. And in principle, right, this is all electric components are off the shelf. There's some, let's say, key things for us on the mechanical side, but I think the magic is in the software. So it is scalable, but I think the trick really is, okay, we know it works as a prototype for a few hundred meters, but 1 hectare is 13,000 meters. So this season, we're going to go with 5 robots, like as a 0 series, to get some meters under our belt. And I think from there, it's mostly about replicating.
Thank you.
Right?
Yep. There's a...
Thank you. I wanted to ask you, how are these powered? Battery or?
Yeah, this is also your question. It's battery powered. It's battery powered and solar panels on the roof, so one robot takes about, one battery charge lasts about 6 hours. So you have to replace the batteries once per day.
And are you guys developing the batteries as well, or are you collaborating with somebody on that?
The batteries? I
Yeah.
think companies like Tesla and Panasonic do that better than we. So.
Okay.
We just get them off the shelf. Sorry, it's.
Okay, thanks.
All right. We have one more question from the online audience. Yes.
The question is, what crops can you weed, and what about the efficiency?
Yeah, good question. We start with carrots. Carrots has the highest amount of man-hours per hectare of weeding. I think from there we go to other crops grown on ridges, and ultimately onion is also a very big market. Right now we take out 65% of the weeds. That's a bit the same as human hands do. And the trick is also where we want to get is to 80%, and then I think we really exceed what humans do. I'm looking at you with go for the...
All right. Thank you so much, team, for your time and for your answers. Okay, so now it's time to change a bit more music, let's say. We're going to listen to something a bit more different because, as you might know, we, of course, help startups all the year round, but we also like to help them throughout the whole cycle. So we keep track of what they're doing and try to follow their journeys. So for this reason, I would like to give you some updates on our startup alumni, Plantic and Time Traveling Milkman. And for this, actually, I'm going to invite on the stage our program director, Lut Rammelsberg, because he's going to tell you a bit more about it.
All
so
right,
welcome,
thank you
Lut.
so much. Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I just want to take you along indeed in the stories of two companies that actually have gone through our accelerator before and are now on their way to conquer the world, so to say. The first company is a company that actually also came out of a venture studio. It arrived in our accelerator program about 2 years ago. The company pitched at F&A Next, and yesterday I got the news that they actually partnered up with one of our investor partners, Future Food Fund. So that's great news. Big applause for this investment. And the second company I'd like to highlight is also a company which I think many of the people already know, and I think the story was told already a couple of times. It's a company called Time Traveling Milkman, who is also going to be with us online, unfortunately, because they are at the Future Ingredients Fair in Paris. But they are basically, they launched on the market. After years and years in the lab, they are now on the market. So I'm really looking forward to see Saskia in a minute, but tell the story of Time Traveling Milkman first by showing you a short video.
Time Traveling Milkman started about 2.5 years ago. What we do is we take sunflower seeds and water, and what we make from that is a dairy cream replacer. So you can really see it's white, it's creamy, it's flowy, and you can add it just in any type of product. It's a water-soluble product. It just brings instant creaminess. So you don't need to add extra ingredients for that or do a homogenization process for that. And we don't have added ingredients, it's just sunflower seeds and water, so it makes it very healthy. I think first of all, we really didn't think at the start of this company that our ingredient would end up in a restaurant. We just thought it's an ingredient that's going into big retail products. And then realizing that this is such a massive step towards that retail part, that it's a very good start to have our product in a restaurant like this, where so many people can taste our ingredient. It's really a dream come true that this science comes to life in a restaurant.
Restaurant De Nieuwe Winkel is a fully plant-based restaurant, and we have just been announced #1 best vegetable restaurant in the world, which is quite an honor. When we started our search for proper alternatives for cream and butter, it was difficult to find a product that has the creaminess that we were looking for. So since we find Time Traveling Milkman, that problem is actually solved. We are actively looking for applications for the product, and some of them are quite spectacular. We are working on a plant-based butter that contains mostly of the cream. We also work on plant-based cheese, which is actually the holy grail in vegan cooking. finding plant-based cheese, and we now found a way to make the cream curd so we can make cheese. These are some of the spectacular discoveries we did with time-traveling milkman cream.
Having our product, like going from this science and being in a lab for basically years, understanding what these droplets are doing when you extract them or what you do with them, really now having it into food and having so many people taste it, it's amazing.
All right, let's give a big applause to Time Traveling Milkman. And if technology works, there's also Dimitris, that's great. Hey Saskia, hey Dimitris, good to see you. Thank you. I was wondering, can you tell us a little bit more about your magic, how these fat droplets work?
Yeah, I can go. So basically what we do is we take sunflower seeds and water, as I just mentioned. And why we do that is because naturally in the sunflower seeds, there's oil droplets stored, covered basically around with proteins. And we extract these droplets with water because the proteins on the outside of the droplets are covered with protein, which are water soluble. So we can do with a very mild process, we can take fat out of seeds.
I see, all right. And before we move over to the crowd, I was wondering what's the next step for your company? So you launched now in the best veggie restaurant in the world. So what's next?
I think our mission is done here, so we are complete. Now the most important part starts. Actually, we have a few cases with startups that we will provide our cream as an ingredient with higher volumes than what you will have in a restaurant. So this traction, we expect that it will increase next year when we are coming in full force in a demo plant facility and we can produce big amounts. So we hope that we get more traction and then you see our cream in more and more products out there in the supermarket.
Cool. Hey, and I was wondering when is the first time I can actually make a reservation in restaurant The Nieuwe Winkel?
I think if you do one tonight, you will be able to taste our cream in 3 months.
Okay, okay. Well, I might want to try a backdoor there. Okay, let's move over to the crowd. Any questions for Saskia and Dimitris on their product launch in the market? Yes, we have there one in the back.
The Nieuwe Winkel is fantastic. I've been there. Is your product also affordable for other restaurants, for the food service? Because now you are in the top of the fine dining market, but it should be available for a lot of restaurants who have to make the step to a more sustainable menu.
Yeah, I hope you can hear us directly again, but to answer your question, currently I have to say we are quite a premium price because, well, we are not at a massive scale producing at the moment. But next year we expect to grow also in volumes of production. So we want to go towards like 1,000 tons in 1 year. And that will also allow us a lot more economy of scale. So then the price, I think, will drop a lot more towards what is affordable for any type of restaurant. So then, for example, maybe this is a first step towards more food service products. So maybe we'll partner up with other distributors or things like that to get it to more mass food service. Yeah.
We'll add also that at the same time, actual dairy cream is increasing in price due to everything that's happening around us. So it's price competitiveness with the thing that we're trying to replace. Dairy cream is actually not far for us in the future.
All right.
Thank you.
Great. We have one more question here in the corner. You're a real facilitator, Peter.
Hi, I just was wondering if you're using third-party co-manufacturers or if you have your own facilities, and then how do you deal with IP?
Yeah, currently we have a co-manufacturer indeed, so we're not producing ourselves. But we are scaling up, and we are doing that with another co-manufacturer where we collaborate on who buys what equipment. So we will continue for now for the demo scale for this coming steps with the co-manufacturer, and then in the future we'll probably build or reuse, repurpose another factory to build our own facilities.
And usually the IP is quite safe, you could say, because you have obviously the right documents for these partnerships, where our partner, in this case, Boson, as the super big company in the Netherlands, is, we keep the IP, the process belongs completely to us, and they are used to do this with smaller companies, but also bigger ones. So protecting your IP is essential for manufacturing, otherwise you wouldn't go through.
All right. Okay, great. Any last burning question? Otherwise, we move on. There's a question from the chat, yes?
Is the product processable? Can it be used as an ingredient in pasteurized desserts to replace cream, for instance?
All right.
Maybe Luz, can you repeat that question?
Yeah, is the product processable, right? That was the question, or what was the question? And pasteurizable?
Yeah.
I think this is one of the strong points because we use the natural structure of the oil droplets, how it's stored in seeds. But you can imagine that seeds also have to lay around, wait up until the conditions are right. So they also have to resist a lot of heat stress and freezing temperatures, all sorts of things. And we use this natural stability of the droplets, and which also gives the functionality of our frame itself. So we can high pressure homogenize it, we can sterilize it at temperatures up until, say, 150 degrees. So our product is very stable and processable without oil leaking out. It's very natural.
Cool. Okay. Well, thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of the Future Ingredient Fair in Paris, and we'll see you soon in Wageningen.
Yes,
thank you very much for the video.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. And, well, I give the word back to you, Jean.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dimitri. Thank you, Saskia. We always love having news from the startup. Let's get back to our pitchers. Let's welcome our next startup, BeSafe Biotech. They are developing a biopesticide using RNA interference technology. Please welcome on stage Santiago Bonner, CEO and co-founder of BeSafe.
Is this working? Perfect.
Yeah. Santiago, you're coming from Argentina, and you have two co-founders coming from Brazil, so thanks for coming such a long way home.
That's such right. a long way. Yeah, actually the guys travel almost 2 days. They are Samir and Diego. Thank you for coming here. So I'm Santiago, I'm from BeSafe Biotech, and we are developing biological pesticides based on RNA technologies and the use of yeast. And the reason is because we want to protect. And we want to protect the environment, people, and also food. So we are seeing, as Alex mentioned, that most of the world is still using non-specific pesticides, so that's causing problems as toxicity in people, biodiversity, and also the environment. We are also creating stronger pests, that's called resistance, and the truth is that current alternatives are not stable enough to guarantee a successful transition into a sustainable agriculture. So we want to create a stable, specific, and practical product. And this is how we do. We analyze a problem in the market, we gather all that genetic information, and we compare that sequences. So we have a program that will tell us what's the best gene to target. And that needs to be specific and also essential. So we use yeast to produce RNAs, interference RNAs, and we can tackle, let's say, interfere in the pest genome. Then we kill that yeast by heat, and we can deliver a powder that's going to be easy to deliver, let's say. Our first market is going to be the poultry industry, and we are trying to tackle an insect that causes different diseases, but one of them is Salmonella. So the use of yeast is really nice because it's a scalable and easy to deliver product. And we are doing this by this amazing team, Paulo is biochemistry, Samir is here, PhD in animal production, Diego, expert in genetics. I'm in business, but I'm also a biotechnologist, and we have a lot of expertise in insects in general. So happy to be here, happy to connect, and we are opening a round in early 2024. That's almost 1 year to file trials, more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Santiago.
Thank you.
I would like to open the floor for questions. So please raise your hand. Any question? Yes.
Thanks for the presentation. How do you guarantee specificity, and how does that play into sort of the regulatory arguments around using it?
Great. So if you can gather all the genetic information, and let's say you have 1,000 of books, and you can select which of those books are repeated, are not in different species. So I say, okay, if I have all this genetic information, and this segment is only this species, and I can control that segment, I can control that species. So it's not going to be anywhere. That's how we would do it. Actually, that's not easy. The program does.
Any other question? Maybe I can ask you a question in the meantime. Oh, yeah, we have it in the back. I will ask you later then.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. I was wondering, are we actually using a purified RNAs as a product, or is it just a crude cell lysate? Because I consider there are lots of proteases in there that would reduce stability of the RNA significantly. So have you considered something like that already, or did you do some stability tests in the first place?
That's a good question. We already proved that in the laboratory, let's say, and we know that the yeast is producing RNAs, and that the amount of RNAs is giving us enough efficiency. Actually, the lab trials are more than 90%. So we said we are trying to have the same results in the field, but as far as we've done it, it works well.
Right.
There's a quick follow-up question.
Yeah.
In the lysate, I assume there are also more unspecific RNases in there besides the one that is quite specific. So do you expect any off-target efficacy there of the cell lysate on targets?
Well, that's kind of the challenge. So I need to hope that doesn't happen, but I need to be prepared to improve the sequences, and actually the program, that's EA, so it's going to learn what's the best genes to target. Okay, let's say if this doesn't happen because increase the possibility of off-target, so I need to switch into other kind of sequences. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A question from the audience, online one. Yeah.
Question from the audience online. Are you only working with animals, and do you have plans to work with plants as well?
Good question. Everyone asks the same. No one wants livestock. So no, actually, Brazil is one of the biggest markets for poultry production, and we are also experts on insects. So based on that, let's say 2 pillars, we said this is the best thing to start with. But the technology is a platform, and we can apply the same knowledge to anything. So in some point, it's going to be crops, but right now we are trying to focus on what we do, we know.
All right, then thank you so much, Santi, for being here with us.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the other startup.
Thank you, Santi. Let's stay in the domain of biotech, but this time from Italy. Welcome on stage, Anthony Rosa, CEO of Algetica. Anthony, you are using CRISPR technology to enhance microalgae strains, right?
Yes, exactly.
Tell us about it.
That's actually all post-production value. I wasn't here for the video, so great job on fixing that, because it was quite horrible in the beginning. Algetica is a biotech company based in Italy. I am Anthony. Hello to everyone, CEO of the company. And Algetica was born in the wake of the plant-based revolution. So we noticed that most companies were actually focusing on a specific ingredient or specific type of food, but no one was actually trying to create a sustainable platform to be able to create these type of ingredients. So imagine if we could actually build a plant-based factory that works solely on sunlight, CO2, and water, but actually was able to give us all the optimized ingredients that we need depending on the type of formulation that we need to make. So basically what we would call a sustainable molecular factory of sorts. Algetica is trying to achieve this goal by using microalgae coupled to CRISPR technology. And with CRISPR technology, this is a genome editing technology that actually allows us to modify the DNA of our organism to tailor production of compounds to our need. And the initial compound that Algetica is actually focused on is protein. So we all know about algae proteins, but they do have some downsides, which are usually taste and price. They have to be competitive as well as good. So what we're doing with CRISPR is we want to be able to obtain a protein that is clean, it has no organoleptic downsides, but is actually price competitive to the alternatives such as soy and pea, for example. At the moment, we are looking for funding to be able to basically build our first POC. So we're looking for a smaller ticket in the beginning to be able to achieve this. With that POC, solidify the collaborations that we may have we have with companies in which we're in talks with right now, and then further round out the investment in the end to a 1.25 million final investment round. This is Algetica, the ingredient factory of the future. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Anthony.
Yes.
Okay, let's open the floor. Any question? Yes, over there. Two questions.
Three questions.
Three questions.
They're growing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You were talking about the off flavor of proteins.
Yes.
It is not the protein that has the off flavor, it is all the other components in the algae that have the off
Exactly.
flavor.
Yes, and that's how we're cleaning up the algae actually. So we're targeting those components that are actually causing the off flavors in the final formulation. So we want to clean up the protein basically by removing all the other off flavors that are inside of the algae biomass.
Okay, and sorry, but I have a second question.
Yeah.
CRISPR, not allowed yet in the EU. So are you going to produce outside the EU?
So yes, the first market that we're going to be targeting is the US actually, where it's highly deregulated, as in many other countries right now. But actually working with ingredients, we have sort of a gray area there where actually the ingredients that we produce are not GMO per se, so we can actually get into the market. But of course, to avoid any type of problems, we're starting from the US.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
There was a question next to it. Yes.
What prevents you from producing animal protein in algae?
So the CRISPR, the way we're using CRISPR is by not using any type of transgenics. So we're not inserting DNA. We're just tweaking what is already in the algae. That's actually one of the reasons we started with algae, is because they have such a nice palette of compounds and so many different compounds that they can produce that we don't need to actually work on transgenics, so inserting DNA, but simply modifying what is already there. So there's not actually the production of animal proteins, but we can achieve something very similar to them with CRISPR.
Second question, if you wanted to do it, would it be extremely difficult?
No, with CRISPR we actually have a way of inserting foreign DNA by using what is called donor DNA, and with the CRISPR technology it actually inserts quite well the DNA inside of the microalgae. It's a used technique, but it's not the one we're starting off with because of the transgenics issue.
There was a question in the back. Oh, all right.
Oh, awesome.
Any other question?
Great.
Maybe
I answered everything.
Well, good.
Awesome.
It was clear. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Anthony,
very much.
then.
Thank you, Anthony. Our next startup, Scope Bioscience, is also using CRISPR technology, but this time to provide on-site diagnostic solutions. Please welcome Nick Savelcool, CEO of Scope Bioscience. Did I touch something? No? Okay. Okay, Nick, you're coming from the second floor, right? You're one of the local founders. How does it? Yeah, how do you feel having such a crowd at home?
Oh, it's amazing to see a lot of familiar faces here today.
Yeah, I
Okay, thank you. Tell us about Scope Bioscience.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. My name is Nick Sauerkool, CEO of Scope Biosciences. The world's population is growing immensely fast, and with more and more people, there's a lot more mouths that need to be fed, and we need to produce a lot more food. And we've come a long way from the open field type of farming to now being capable of producing most crops indoors in highly packed greenhouses. But as you are familiar, if you increase the population density, whether it's with humans, animals, or with plants, you become more susceptible to infectious diseases. And they cause major damage to these crops, especially to the seed breeders who produce the very valuable plants that produce their seeds that they're going to sell. They want to be able to detect these pathogens pre-symptomatically, so without a camera, so pre-symptomatically in these greenhouses, and they currently cannot do this. They need to ship the samples to a laboratory, which is not only a labor and time-intensive process, but also prone to cross-contamination. There's no diagnostic solution that can provide that accuracy that's needed on-site, but we can with CRISPR, with ScopeDX. So what we developed is a platform that is very fast and very easy to use on-site, while maintaining the sensitivity that's needed to detect the smallest amount of pathogens. But moreover, what's very interesting about what we can do is a specificity. We can detect single nucleotide changes, which is highly specific, so you can use that to differentiate between a highly pathogenic disease strain and a not-so-pathogenic disease strain. We developed this with Wageningen University. We're working with most of the research centers that are linked to the university and research center, I should say, as well as their extensive commercial network. And we have an LOI signed by one of the largest seed breeders in the Netherlands for the development of 2 products, and we're talking to others to expand that as well. We do this with a team of 13 brilliant bioengineers and CRISPR researchers. We're currently raising a 2 million round, which is also a major ask here today for you. We're looking for investors as well as talent because we want to hire a commercial lead which will help us get to our goal, which is to sell 200,000 assays by the end of 2024, making us a profitable company, but also really validating our business model and bringing us one step closer to becoming the leading developer of agri-food diagnostics using CRISPR. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation. All right. Any question from the audience? Yes, 2.
I was curious what your business model is going to be, whether you're selling machines or selling the tests.
We're mainly selling the tests. So basically we're selling as reagents. We can rapidly adapt that and produce it in the building next door here in large quantities. So that's our main business model indeed. Yeah.
Thanks.
There was a question in the front, right in front of you. Yes.
Thank you. So what are you detecting, fungi or bacteria or what?
Anything that has DNA or RNA is what we're detecting. So that can be fungi, but mostly we're focusing now on bacteria and viruses indeed. Yeah.
Okay. How often would a customer send in a seed when the customer doesn't recognize any problems yet with the seed?
If we're talking about customers like the people in this room who do some home gardening, that doesn't happen too often, right? If the seed doesn't work, you throw it away, you buy a new one. But when we're talking about large breeders who produce thousands of tomatoes a day, or a season, I should say, it happens quite often that something is wrong and they want to send that in. And if it's something that's really wrong with it, they need to quarantine and destroy half of the crop or the entire crop. So you want to know that very early, so you can quarantine it off and take only the plants that are showing or not even showing the signs of infection yet.
All right. Do we have any other question? Okay. Oh, yes, one on the back.
What's the advantage of your technology compared to photonics or other technologies?
It's mainly the specificity of it. So we can detect minute differences in DNA. There's a lot of different applications for that, but for this, for instance, if you're looking at 2 tomato viruses, there can be one that if you have it, you need to report it to the government. Your entire, what do you call it, a greenhouse is going to be, you need to take all the plants out and burn them. And there's one that doesn't require you to do that. And the difference is only so minute that it's very hard to detect that with conventional diagnostics.
All right. Thank you so much. Then I think we are going to have enough time afterwards for networking and asking more questions.
Yes.
So thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Nick. Another startup now in the field of diagnostic with Vivotro Laboratories. Please welcome on stage Kurt Stitteler, CTO of Vivotro Laboratories.
Thank you, Sharon.
Kurt, you do efficacy testing for infectious disease for animal and human health. Let's hear about it.
I will tell it. Okay, thank you, Jean. Thank you, StartLife, for making this possible. One shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? More and more development of sustainable protein sources, better feed, novel vaccines and therapeutics is needed. And these may be your product or your investment baby. And between the actual use and the development, they must be tested. And here is a risk and a bottleneck. So proper testing is crucial, otherwise a valuable product is not qualified, and this product or investment baby is thrown out with the bathwater. So annually, overall, altogether, we farm trillions of terrestrial animals, aquatic animals and insects. And here is a high risk of infectious disease transmission into humans, for antimicrobial resistance, and for significant waste of time, body and protein batches. This, together with threats from other diseases like COVID, bird flu, African swine fever and so on, but also the fact that insects can also be affected by infectious diseases shows the pain. We at Vivotro Laboratories deliver efficacy testing, high-quality testing of new products, including new vaccines, disinfectants, antimicrobials, probiotics, and we deliver pathogen management services that provide an early warning system for farmed insects and crustaceans, boosting survival rates and sustainable production. So our range of advanced solutions, our access to a high containment unit to be able to work with the dangerous viruses, and partnership with Wageningen University with a continual pipeline of innovations makes us a solution for the global bottleneck. At the moment, we are raising 10 million euro to rapidly expand the development of our existing, already revenue-generating efficacy testing and pathogen management. So, at Vivotro Labs, efficacy testing for infectious disease control, so you do not have to throw that baby out with the bathwater. Thank you very much. Also present here is Desmond and Luca.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, let's see if we have any question from the audience. Maybe I can start in the meantime.
Sure.
So you mentioned that you have a partnership with Ver, right? Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, so a lot of work already happened in the past 2-3 years, where we set up with the shareholder, GBI, the construct of a joint venture. And now we are ready to get to market. So we are going to market with different activities. The one with the technical readiness level that is highest is the biosecurity product testing, what I mentioned, the disinfectants. Mm-hmm. So that is already revenue making. And along the way, with more development and research from Wageningen, we will bring more products to market.
Right, okay, thanks. Any question? Yes, one here, Peter, right in front.
Hello.
So my question is, which kind of customers do you foresee? Which type, which segments do you have for your customers?
Yeah, quite a range. So that will vary from the human pharmacy to the bioveterinary pharmacy. So it is about vaccine manufacturers, but also for the antivirals and antifungal producers, and also more the chemical industry who is making the disinfectants.
Any question? Yes, one here.
Are you going to use the product of Scope Bioscience?
Maybe. So we definitely should talk because you have an interesting...
yeah, that sounds it, but I mean the previous presenter.
Yeah, well, that can be. So we are not bound to a specific technique. So we are devoted to combat these infectious diseases with whatever technique. So that can be ranging from a simple PCR to deep sequencing, whatever technique, yeah.
And that fits your price model as well?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other question? Otherwise, oh yes, one in the back.
Can you say something on your core technology? So what is it, what specifically you're using to provide these services?
Really the core is that we can work with the pathogens. So because there are more companies that can work with infectious diseases, but we can really work with the ones that require high containment, so a high level of biosafety. And around that, we deploy the different techniques, but they are not so specific. So really the core is the infectious diseases from the dangerous viruses.
Okay, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yep.
Okay, let's switch on to agriculture now, and this time from Germany. Let's welcome on stage Ingmar, CEO of Heliopass AI. Ingmar, you will tell us about the smart irrigation system you develop. Thank you.
Yes. Water scarcity in agriculture is a big problem, and it's growing. So much that the sale of irrigation equipment is reaching 25 billion euros at a 15% growth rate year over year. This staggering growth leads to new environmental problems. So regulators keep tightening water outtakes. Farmers in turn then have to make more and more difficult triage choices. Which field deserves how much water and which doesn't? To make those choices, farmers currently either buy more sensors or employ more help. Both is costly. I am Ingmar Wolf, and I'm going to tell you how my company is helping farmers making better decisions in irrigation easier than ever before. This is WaterFox. WaterFox is the first independent irrigation management system that works without any additional hardware. The way we do it is we are basing on two technologies. First, agronomic models that take water, soil, plant, and weather conditions into account, and the other is satellite images that we analyze for soil moisture content. Over 300 farms have been testing WaterFox in the past 3 seasons. In the coming seasons, we will integrate WaterFox onto the software platforms of irrigation equipment manufacturers, which will scale our sales tremendously. In the future, we can imagine our satellite-based soil moisture monitoring being used in other use cases like automatic insurance solutions and improved yield predictions. If you are a seasoned investor who can help us with strategic guidance and access to our core markets, please approach us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ingmar. Nice presentation. Let's see, do we have any question from the audience? What is your core market? Just repeating.
So It is the OEMs of irrigation equipment for waterfox, and in the future we see much more potential in the analytics. But for that we first need a good base in ground truth data.
Any other question? Yes.
Why asking for 500,000 for increasing sales while there are 5 OEM manufacturers in irrigation?
Yeah, so this is a very conservative scenario. We can easily also use 1.2 million. It depends a little bit on the conditions of the deal. But we are in talks with the OEMs already, and the ticket sizes are quite good there already.
Okay. Any other question? Yes, here in the front.
Where do we stand in terms of variable rate irrigation? Because that would be necessary in order to make use out of your solutions, I assume.
So that is when you have drip irrigation, drip line irrigation. So we started with pipe irrigation, where it already works, and with drip line, we have to rely more on the satellite images. So there is still some testing to be done in order to do that. Those dynamic models work well, but they require sensors. And if you have a long line and you have heterogeneous soils, it's a bit difficult. And this is where our satellite images can make a difference.
All right. We can have time for another last question, if there's any. Okay, I think then we can move on. Thank you so much, Ingmar, for your time and for being here with us today.
And let's welcome our last startup, Voltiris, coming from Switzerland, with Nicolas Weber, CEO of Voltiris.
Thank you very much, Jean.
Nicolas, you're offering green energy solution for greenhouses. Tell us about this.
Thank you very much, Jean. I'm Nicolas. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Voltiris, and I'm very excited to be here today to present to you how we enable harvesting crops and energy in greenhouses. At the moment, 1 out of 3 growers in the Netherlands is going to halt his or her operations over the coming months because of the ongoing energy crisis. They're looking for solutions to increase their energy independence, but solutions like solar panels have 2 main problems. 1, they require space next to the greenhouse, which growers don't have. Or 2, if the panels are installed on top of the greenhouse, you reduce the yield of the crops because of the shading that comes from the solar panels. At Voltiris, we allow growers to leverage the huge scale of their greenhouse to produce their own renewable energy and gain in energy independence, profitability, and sustainability. The way we do that is with our solar modules that filter the sunlight. All the light components that are required by the crops for the photosynthesis process are transmitted to the crops. All the part that is not used for photosynthesis is harvested and used to generate renewable energy. Our solution is installed inside the greenhouses, which allows us to be protected by the greenhouse. The solution is light, flexible, easy to install, can be retrofitted, and also because we're inside, we don't need any permits in order to deploy the solution. It looks like this in a test greenhouse in Switzerland. We're also testing now with industrial growers in Switzerland. So we recently installed our first modules in a 6-hectare greenhouse in Switzerland. And now we're going to test even more in the Netherlands and in Switzerland with tomato and flower growers, and also with Wageningen University in Bleiswijk. So we're going to conduct a 1-year agronomical study starting early next year. We also recently raised our pre-seed financing round. So we raised around 1.4 million euros. But we're looking for 3 things today. The first one is if there are also any investors that are interested in already engaging to prepare our next seed round in early 2024, very happy to connect. The second point is that we're also looking to recruit. We're looking to hire and bring in new capabilities, specifically a head of operations and also a head of industrialization. And later next year, a head of sales that we'll hire here in the Netherlands. And finally, we're also looking to network with energy experts that can help us also understand better solar energy for greenhouses and also with heat pump providers. We also have my two co-founders here, so if you also have some questions afterwards, Jonas and Dominique, if you want to stand up also so everybody can see you, they will be also here at the apéro. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nicolas. Okay, let's see if we have any question from the audience. Yes, we have one there.
What's the return of investment for the grower, and how dependent are you on current energy prices?
So that's a very good question. I didn't address that yet, but our business model is an energy as a service solution. So that means that growers actually don't pay for the panels themselves, they pay for the energy that we produce. With the current energy prices, we usually take a bit of a deflated prices because now the situation is a bit out of bound. But what we aim in the long term is to offer an energy that is around 25% cheaper than the one they buy from the market. So to some extent, they don't have a return on investment because they have directly the return. I hope that answers the question.
Any other question? Yes, in the back. Peter is enjoying it.
Yeah. Is this a retrofit solution, or do you need special preparations in your current greenhouse gas?
That's also a very interesting question. Maybe for the anecdote, our first solution was to replace the roof of the greenhouse. We discussed this with growers and they said, no, wait, this will never work. And so we iterated with them a few times to align on also a solution and design that fits the greenhouse. What we need to do is we need to install one bar on which the modules are installed, but that bar is also relying on the structure of the greenhouse itself. There are still some considerations to take into account, like climate screens, but all things can be managed also if we prepare them with the team.
Another question there. Yes, two questions.
Thanks a lot for the presentation. Just two questions in terms of understanding how to determine the baseline of the savings over time. That's a question of me. And the second thing is there's a lot of CapEx that's required on your side. How are you going to finance all that with that type of business model?
Yeah, so on the savings, that's actually a good question. No one really knows how energy prices are going to be in a few years. We usually work with multiple experts who also work with energy companies that also help us assess this, and so that's how we establish the baseline. When it comes to the financing, well, basically what we do is that, without getting into too much complexity, we build a solar project for the greenhouse, right? And so for that solar project, we have the assets that are off our balance sheet. We create an entity that will manage the solar project on which we have investors that invest and conduct the solar project and get their return on investment, like a regular renewable large-scale project.
We had another question over there.
Thanks. Yeah, so I think the rule of thumb, the golden rule in horticulture is that every % of light in a greenhouse is 1% more production. You do add something in the structure in the top of the greenhouse. Can you prove or demonstrate that you do not lose light in the crop?
Yes, that's actually also why we focus on tomato, because tomatoes, it's exactly what you mentioned. It's the most sensitive crop. We have currently a pilot project with the Agronomical Center, the Research Center for Greenhouse in Switzerland. We've been able to validate so far that the crops below our modules didn't reduce their yield. There were even some added benefits, like reduced need of water. But of course, the pilot that we're going to do in Bleiswijk and also the other pilots that we're going to conduct with growers are going to be crucial in validating this at scale.
Thank you, Nicolas. That was our last startup for today. Thanks a lot for your questions. We hope you had fun. I want to congratulate all the entrepreneurs for the hard work during the program. You really work hard, and we are really happy for you. Thanks a lot to the community as well. I hope you can help the startup somehow. Thank you, Julia, for co-hosting the event. Thank you, the StartLife team, for organizing today and for your hard work all year round. Yes, the entrepreneurs, the StartLife team, you can come on stage and we will celebrate together. Yes. You can come. The entrepreneurs, the startups, the StartLife team.
We take a picture all together.
Yeah, we take a picture.
And maybe in the meantime, I want to thank again everyone. And for the startups that are following us, either in person or online, please, if you want to know about our programs and you want to get in touch with us, either contact me, Jean, or anybody else in the team, and we will be happy to tell you more about StartLife Accelerate 10. And so, yeah, as you can see now, it's time to celebrate. Of course, we're going to have drinks and some tasting of Time Traveling Milkman over there in the other side of the building. So please stay with us and network with us. And for the online audience, thank you again for being here today. So see you next time.
See you.